and welcome to this time of prayer. And how do we move forward? And as I ask that question, right, you go, well, it depends. It depends upon the circumstance, right? How do we move forward? But how do we move forward when we feel like everything has fallen apart? That the life we're now living, that's not what we wanted, or it just wasn't good. It was a really bad thing that happened, or an event, or something happened in a relationship. And how do you begin to move forward when things are looking kind of like this is the worst? How do we move forward? So for today, I've got 2 Samuel chapter 11, verse 14 and 15. And this is going to be some pretty, this is rough stuff. The next morning, David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it with Uriah. He wrote in the letter, place Uriah at the front of the fiercest battle and then pull back from him so that he will be struck down and die. And so Uriah does die in the battle. And so you think, oh my goodness, what a horrible human being David is. How in the world? Like, that is the worst, right? That is the worst that can be done. And yet, David will be said to be a man after God's own heart. And you go, wait a minute, he did all of these really terrible things. The story will continue with somebody named Nathan, the prophet, is going to have to call him out. And when they call David out, David's going to have to make a choice. At that point, he's going to be made aware of what he did, because he seems to be making decisions without an awareness of the destruction he is ultimately causing. And so the prophet Nathan is going to call back to him, going to call him back to God and be like, hey, how do you make this right? And so in thinking about that, when we're thinking through our own lives, and maybe it's not as severe as David, but how do we begin to move forward? How do we make things right? How do we get past certain moments, situations, relationships, whatever it is? How do we move forward? Do we allow God to call to us? Do we recognize where God is calling us forward out of something? Or do we just keep wringing our hands of how bad, or we just feel bad about it? We stay in a state of, I'm such an idiot, I can't believe I did. And so how do we begin to move forward when things have gone totally off the rails? How do we allow God to call us out of that? Because God kept calling to David. And so God keeps calling to us. Even when we think we don't deserve it, God keeps calling to us to come on, to move forward, to go down a different path. Pray with me. Oh God, there are times where we get ourselves in situations and they are not good. There are times where we screw things up and we feel bad about it. Maybe we even try to beat ourselves up over it. Help us, oh God, this day to recognize that you are constantly calling to us to go forward in new ways, to be present in new ways, to live in different ways, that you never stop calling to us out of your love. Help us, oh God, this day to recognize where you are calling us to move forward. Amen. Have a good one.